failure of leadership, and that is why I've called for your resignation.
You should step down from your position. If you don't, you should be removed by this president.
Americans will get accountability for the damage that you have done.
Despiden a Kristi Noem como secretaria de Seguridad Nacional. El presidente Trump lo anunció en redes sociales. El despido llega ahora después de que Noem fuera cuestionada por senadores de su propio partido.
It is shocking to Americans right now to see that you can sit in front of this committee and continue to cover for people who are working under you.
No pudo justificar los hechos violentos cometidos por agentes de ICE contra estadounidenses, incidentes donde resultaron muertos y otros golpeados. La agencia fuera de control bajo el mando de Noem, que nunca pudo controlar, sino todo lo contrario, siempre justificaba el actuar de los hombres enmascarados.
And I think Americans deserve so much better than that. And your employees have regularly ignored court orders and lied to judges. Now you're covering up. And I just want to say, this conduct alone is impeachable. And I want you to know that Americans will get accountability.
Estos son algunos de los incidentes que provocaron que senadores pidieran su destitución por mala administradora. Otro de los casos es el gasto innecesario de $200 millones para publicidad contra inmigrantes indocumentados.
Has a single ICE agent or CBP officer been disciplined since you've been Secretary of Homeland Security? As we've seen women dragged through their streets by their hair and thrown into unmarked cars, people chased through the fields and factories where they work, public executions happening in our streets. Has a single ICE agent or CBP officer been disciplined?
Yes, they have.
How many?
I don't know the number. I can get that for you if
you
you'd
think
like
that number is
me to.
important?
I think that it's wise and smart, and what we're doing is accurate according to the law by doing those internal investigations.
Noem es la primera secretaria del gabinete que deja el cargo durante el segundo mandato de Trump. Su salida culmina un tumultuoso mandato supervisando las tácticas de control migratorio que se han enfrentado a protestas y demandas.
Are you aware that agents bashed in the door of a U.S. citizen, a Hmong elder with no criminal record?
I can't speak to the specifics of that
Did you
case.
see the photos of that man being dragged out of his house in Crocs and in his underwear?
Yes, I did.
Do you believe that he was involved in fraud?
I do not know where that status of that investigation is.
Are you aware that he is a son of a beloved nurse that treated our soldiers in Vietnam?
I believe that we have laws in this country that need to be enforced and need to be applied equally to
Your agents,
everyone.
speaking of enforcing the laws and following the laws, did they have a judicial warrant when they rammed through an American citizen's door?
Our law enforcement officers follow the same protocols and procedures that all law enforcement do.
Are you aware that he tried to show his identification to show that he was an American citizen and they didn't want to see it?
Noem ha enfrentado oleadas de críticas por supervisar la represión migratoria de Trump, especialmente desde la muerte a tiros de dos manifestantes en Minneapolis a manos de agentes de ICE.
Those people, and I want to detain fewer of the others. And Mr. Chair, in my remaining time, I have a lot to go. But I want to submit this letter from the Office of Inspector General that cites 10 different instances under Ms. Noem's leadership where they've been misled and not allowed to pursue investigations that they think are critically important. Does anybody have any idea how bad it has to be for the OIG in this agency to come out and do this publicly? That is stonewalling, that's a failure of leadership, and that is why I've called for your resignation.
La ex gobernadora de Dakota del Sur también criticada por la forma en que su departamento ha gastado miles de millones de dólares asignados por el Congreso.
The man with the clergy collar is surrounded by multiple DHS agents. Yes or no?
Yes.
Showing you a picture, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
That is what the American people saw. This man is Reverend David Black, who is the senior pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Chicago. He had his arms up in prayer when ICE agents fired pepper balls directly at his head. They shot him 7 times, including twice in his head. Next photo. In this photo, you see the woman on the ground? Yes or no?
Yes.
That's what the American people saw. This is just after your DHS agent violently shoved her against the wall and down to the ground in front of her 2 young children. She later went to the hospital.
You are violating the separation of powers, violating court orders, and routinely violating the civil rights of Americans. This is a reckless and out-of-control agency that you are responsible for. You seem to have no situational awareness whatsoever of some of the most egregious examples of Americans being completely attacked, violated, undermined in accordance with our laws by their own government. And this is what is phenomenal to me, is immigration was your president's #1 issue, overwhelmingly popular with the American people. But now it's overwhelmingly unpopular. And it's not because you are deporting dangerous people that everybody here wants out of our country. No, it's because you're going into our schools. You're terrorizing our children. You're detaining children. You're arresting Americans. You're breaking into our homes. You're terrorizing our streets. You're violating our rights to peacefully protest again and again and again.
None of
and then
that
when
is
a
true.
court tells you
None
to
of
stop,
that is true.
and then when a court
You are
tells
trying
you to stop,
to impede
you
us
violate
from enforcing
judges'
the law
orders. Not in
and
a
getting
partisan
dangerous
way,
criminals off of our
Republican
streets
appointed and
so we don't have
Democratic
more
appointed.
families like the ones that are
Don't
sitting
sit
behind
there
me.
and tell me that
Lost
you are
their children, are
responsible
gone forever.
for the running of your agency when you're not even aware. Either you are utterly incompetent or you are violating laws with impunity. You should step down from your position. If you don't, you should be removed by this president. And if not, Congress should impeach you.
I appreciate the encouragement.
A $70 million luxury 737 MAX with a queen-size bedroom in the back, a deluxe serving bar, and 4 flat-screen TVs. A big, beautiful jet paid for by the big, beautiful bill. Yesterday, under questioning the Senate, you said you plan to refurbish this jet to make it into this kind of airplane, which is what's actually being used for deportations in order to save the taxpayers' money. In other words, you're saying that's actually a deportation plane, but wouldn't it have been cheaper just to buy a deportation plane in the first place? It's like buying a Rolls Royce to turn into a Metro bus. I was almost prepared to buy that story of how the jet was both for executive travel and mass deportation. And then I heard about an airborne episode of entitlement, arrogance, and contempt that I could hardly believe. Apparently, when your special blanket, your blankie, was left on one of the government jets and not transported over to the new one, your special government employee, Corey Lewandowski, chivalrously stepped forward to fire the pilot midair. A 2003 Coast Guard Academy graduate and distinguished U.S. Coast Guard commander in Air Station, Washington, D.C. But then he had to be rehired immediately because there was no one else who could fly the two of you on the rest of the journey back home. Secretary Noem, you're flying high now, maybe even a little bit too close to the sun. But with all these free planes and houses and pilots, you've traveled a long distance from your actual job.